So just imagine you're an American GI and you've arrived here in Britain in this small old village in Wiltshire, Aldbourne. You may have never left your state in America, and suddenly you're in a completely new environment and you're training for one of the biggest invasions in military history.
Shortly after their country's entrance into the Second World War, hundreds of thousands of US servicemen found themselves stationed in the UK, preparing to assist with the war effort in Europe. Among those based in the village of Aldbourne, Wiltshire, were members of the 101st US Airborne Division, and in particular, Easy Company of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Famous, of course, for being the subject of Stephen Ambrose's book Band of Brothers, and the subsequent hit miniseries.
They were here from 1943 up until the 5th of June 1944, and they would have trained here. They would have drank at this pub here, the Blue Boar. They would have socialised here, they would have mingled with the local population. But you can just imagine what it must have been like for them.
A village they described as looking like a Hollywood film set, Easy Company spent just under 9 months in the idyllic West Country village, and they certainly left their traces behind. In this series, we're going to explore these traces.
You really can't get more American than an M1 Garand Clip.
Following a team of archaeologists hoping to unearth the remains left behind by the real Band of Brothers.
This is, gold dust. You're not going to get these things. It's as rare as hen's teeth, this.
Hello and welcome back to the History Hit YouTube channel. I'm here in Aldbourne, Wiltshire, the village famous for hosting Easy Company of the 101st Airborne Division. Now, we've all either seen or heard of the TV show Band of Brothers, but today Richard Osgood and a team of volunteers are hoping to find some real remnants of the company stationed here 80 years ago. One of the best known Allied units involved in the D-Day landings, Easy Company was established as part of an experimental airborne regiment in 1942 at Camp Toccoa in Georgia. After months of harsh physical training, the company was relocated across the Atlantic to Great Britain, where it would undergo further preparation before the Allied invasion of Normandy in June 1944. The village of Aldbourne in Wiltshire was an ideal location for members of the 101st Airborne due to its proximity to Salisbury Plain airfields and training areas. Using state-of-the-art LiDAR technology, Richard and his team believe that what is now a football field used to be the site of several Nissen huts, where members of Easy Company would have slept, socialised, and hopefully left traces of their time there behind. Just as the team began to pick up their trowels, I caught up with Richard to find out more about the project and what he was hoping to find. Hi Richard, good to see you. Now tell me a bit about what's happening here and how this all came about.
Well, what we're looking at behind us is the excavation of what we think is going to be a hut used by the Americans here in the Second World War. Not any old Americans though, because this was 101st Airborne, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, and Easy Company, and everyone knows them because it's probably the most famous military unit in the war. It's Band of Brothers. Yeah. Our aspiration here is to find the hut used by these guys in late 1943 up to their jump on D-Day. They did come back slightly later on, but it's those kind of formative months of Easy Company when they lived in this field in Wiltshire. That's what we're looking for.
And these sort of huts would have been used just, they would have socialised and obviously slept in these, Nissen huts?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine in late 43 and into 1944, they're doing their training all around here. We're not far from Salisbury Plain, so they do some practicing here. Chiltern Foliot is the jump school, that's very close. In the woodlands around here, we think there are little positions that they trained in, and that became really vital for what they were going to experience in Europe later on. But this is where they bond. This is where they become a unit, because they sit around, they have the downtime around the stove. They have a go at the officers, as all military guys will do.
Yeah,
They plot against the officers here. And it's a famous element with the sergeants thinking about Sobel. That happens in this field, and that's incredible. You're relating directly to history. So this is where Easy Company becomes that unit that we all revere, I think. It's in these small huts, little Quonset huts there, like the Anderson shelters, that sort of style of thing, Nissen huts, in this field in Wiltshire for 6 months. It's the longest time they stayed at any point in the war, was in this field.
And have you dug here before, and have you found any remnants of Easy Company already?
Yeah, I mean, we're fairly confident we're going to find something, because in 2019, gosh, the time flies, we did excavate one of the huts which we think was used by the sergeants, so people like Don Malarkey or Carwood Lipton, some really big names.
Yep.
And we found within that, we weren't expecting to find anything because it's been levelled to make this sports pitch. But we found the hut, we found things like Pepsi bottles, we found a bit of parachute pull, nylon stocking, bottles, glasses, all sorts of things, American military rounds, all sorts of things connected with Easy Company, and that was a really lovely thing. I'm an archaeologist, so I love connecting with the people through the finds and what's left in the ground, and that's, it's a really incredible thing. Everyone knows about Easy Company, but to see where they lived and found what they left behind it's an amazing feeling, and hopefully we'll have that over the next week here.
And of course, you talk about working together as a unit, but as a local population here, how often do they interact with the local population here in Aldbourne?
It's a really important part of their story. Anyone who's read any of the books will know about the laundry being done by local women. There is the story of the Hearts and Minds campaign, which the Americans are very good at. I wonder whether the nylon stocking we found was related to that somehow. They use the dance floor, the local hall, the village hall. The dance floor is worn out by the Americans because they make such good use of it, and they pay for a new one to be laid after the war.
That's brilliant.
So there are all these things. There are GI babies that happen 9 months after the Americans
marriages
are here.
and
Marriages. Spears, one of the most famous guys of the unit, as a child marries a local girl. So there are all these stories. The interactions between local communities is key, and I think just them experiencing Wiltshire must have been phenomenal. Some of these people probably had not left their state until they started in the military, and then to come into this bucolic landscape, and some of them refer to waking up as though they're on a Hollywood film set because it's such a beautiful location. There are stories of Dick Winters walking around Butts Lane with lardy cakes. You couldn't get more Wiltshire than having a lardy cake walking there. And it's those stories. They still do the lardy cakes, and I love the fact that the locals still remember Easy Company. It's still a big part of the story of a load of young men that came over here for a formative part in our own island story, and it happens here.
Immortalised by Stephen Ambrose's book and the TV series, the story of the real Band of Brothers is nothing short of inspirational. Sustaining one of the heaviest casualty rates of the Second World War, Easy Company took part in several major liberation campaigns in Europe, from the Normandy campaign to the Battle of the Bulge, Operation Market Garden, to drinking champagne in Hitler's Eagle's Nest. Eager to see some remnants of the legendary military unit, I headed straight to the Heritage Centre in Aldbourne, where curator Cassie Rust was going to show me some of the finds the archaeological team dug up back in 2019.
So Cassie, these objects here are from the dig that you did 3 years? 2019. Okay. So talk me through some of the objects here. We have quite a wide variety.
Okay, so the biggest and most obvious, this is parachute silk that was found.
Wow. Original parachute silk.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
A bit grubbier than it would have been in the day, but it's been under the soil for however many years. So related to the parachute silk, we've got a reserve parachute handle. That would have been on the front of the parachute. The reserve chute was on the front. Mm-hmm. It would have been painted red. There are just traces of red paint left on it. So, when you're in a panic, you can see the big red handle, pull that.
Just pull it.
Here we've got, it's the old style multi-sided threepenny bit. So, board squaddies, what do? How do you shoot a hole in a coin? You don't hold your hand out and get someone to aim at it.
No.
You get your rifle mounted like that, put it on the end, pull the trigger, and we have the type of round that will fit through it. And you can tell that it's been done very close because there's no flare, not much flare out. You've got a bit of a flare.
Shot.
So that's sort of cool.
Yep. And then over here, this seems quite. So what's this here? You can see some.
That's a Kiwi boot polish lid.
You can still see some of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see boot polish.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And then we've got, you recognise that?
Yeah.
Part of a guitar.
We see quite a lot of instruments. Here
Yeah.
you have a guitar, so there might have been a band, a literal band of brothers. And here, this looks like is this an item of clothing or?
Yes, that's Hearts and Minds. That's a stocking top.
A stocking top, really?
So there's tales told of some of the women who came to visit the village.
Ah, okay. Got it. Got it. Say no more. Say no more. And then moving along, down here, that's a US Army bayonet found around here locally?
Yeah, found in one of the farm areas. The Americans used a lot of the surrounding area for exercises, and yes, they managed to drop a bayonet. There are tales told of them just cutting barbed wire and just going straight through.
I can imagine you probably would have been told off for that.
Yeah.
And you had the trenching tools, that famous, the first scene, think of Saving Private Ryan with
water
Captain
bottles.
Miller.
Yeah.
The water bottle there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you have some rings.
Yeah.
And down here, what's that?
That's an ammunition box.
M1A1 for a tank.
Yeah.
Incredible. Some amazing finds here.
The variety of artefacts discovered a few years ago gave me great confidence that Richard and his team would have no trouble unearthing a plethora of objects this year. Unsurprisingly, within half an hour of our arrival in the village, we were already alerted to a discovery.
David, we're not even 1 hour in yet, and you've already found something pretty cool.
Well, we're currently in the area that we know Dog and Fox Company were billeted back in '43. This is find number 5 of Sector 7 that I'm covering at the moment. The first find that came up that you filmed was a modern penny. I remember standing pretty much where the find came up, talking to Richard earlier about, hopefully what we were going to find. 6 inches down, we've got an M1 Garand rifle clip.
Wow.
Doesn't seem a lot, doesn't look like much, but you really can't get more American than an M1 Garand clip. These would have been around here in their hundreds, if not thousands. Used with the M1 rifle, it would have held 8 rounds and would have loaded into the rifle in that fashion. With this particular system, the charging clip would have stayed in the rifle. Yeah. And as the user fired it, when it got to the 8th round, once the 8th round was fired, this would then
burst out.
Ping out.
Makes that iconic noise, doesn't it?
Covering fire!
If you've ever played COD,
Yeah.
or if you've ever seen Saving Private Ryan, or indeed, Band of Brothers,
Yeah.
that iconic sound will be something that will come up on the clip. They did some research on this. It's interesting to think that, that was quite a noise. The inference being that the enemy would hear that, and that would then be their opportunity to come in on someone who'd got an empty weapon.
Yeah.
The research they did suggested that it wasn't as noisy as first anticipated. It would be to the fire and to those immediately around him, but to the enemy, possibly 20 plus yards away, the chances of hearing it slim to nil, particularly when you've got the sounds of battle going on as well.
So Dave, tell me about how you're finding these objects. You've got a metal detector there.
Well, as with any metal detector, this particular model is a Minelab 600 series. My colleague's using the 800 series, but we do have some differences in technology. Ultimately, this is using what's known as a double D coil.
Okay.
And that's wired up to a box of tricks. There's a lithium battery. In essence, what it is doing is looking for metal within the soil. This particular model, as with my colleagues and much of the modern kit that you get, has an ability to discriminate between ferrous and non-ferrous.
Okay.
It won't tell you exactly what it is, but the combination of the sound and the numbers that come up on the dial here will indicate to you roughly what you might be getting, whether it be iron, steel, copper, silver, gold, for example. I can give you an example from the M1 clip that we picked up earlier.
Yeah, please do. Show me.
Obviously, this is a surface find, so and I've taken the earphones off so you can hear the actual machine. This one's currently set on all metal mode, so you might get a combination of numbers and noises that'll tell you that you've found something.
Got it,
But
okay.
effectively what we know is that this is a piece of rusted mild steel.
So you hear that noise and you suddenly get excited, right?
You do, you do. If you want to see the difference, that's a piece of mild steel. If you've got a pound coin or something on you,
Yeah.
I can show you the difference in the different sort of signals and tones that you get depending on the different types of metal.
Okay, here you go.
Now we know that's a bimetallic product and it's circular, so we should get a really sweet, crisp note out of that as a result. Again, surface find. Now I would know.
Slightly different noise, yeah.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, essentially the clean and the noise.
Yeah. You know,
They're more exciting
chances
to
are
find.
you'll have something like copper, brass, silver, or a bimetallic product like that.
Or a bullet, perhaps, or something like that.
Yeah, quite possibly. And as I say, hopefully in the next couple of hours we'll hopefully find some of those for you as well.
Next time on Digging Band of Brothers, as the foundations of the Nissen hut are revealed,
it's crazy. It definitely gives you shivers.
we travel in appropriate fashion to the Blue Ball pub in Aldbourne, where Easy Company socialised and intermingled with the local residents, referring to a very unique guidebook.
The first important thing to remember is that the British are like the Americans in many ways, but not in all ways.
We also make a small trip to the hills around Aldbourne, previously training grounds, where members of the 101st US Airborne Division have, quite literally, left their mark.
Welcome to the History Hit YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed that video.
And if you'd like to see more videos where we attempt to try and bring history to life, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Cheers guys, see you soon.